Evening, I now call to order the October 19th, 2023 meeting of the Salem Historic Landmarks Commission. Will the reporter please take roll call? Commissioner Herman? Present. Commissioner Orr? Present. Commissioner Henry? Present. Commissioner Meddy-Timber?
Present.
Commissioner Pons? Present. Commissioner Kress?
Present.
Commissioner Strong is absent, and Commissioner Morris is absent and excused. We have quorum. Thank you. Do you want me to say that I'm here too?
Oh. Sorry. I just realized your name is at the top because you're the chair, but you're alphabetically the last.
Yeah. it's a little tricky. All righty. No present. All right, Commissioner Timber.
Thank you, Commissioner Zimmerman. I'd like to make a motion to move the Historic Preservation Month award presentation for the Justice Building up earlier into the meeting.
Okay, is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Potts. All in favor of Commissioner Tim Brooks' motion to move up the Historic Preservation Month Award presentation to after the public comment, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, thank you, Commissioner Tim Brooks. And do we have any comment? The commission will now hear the testimony from the public concerning items not on the agenda. Is there anyone here wishing to speak? All right. Seeing none, we will now move to the Historic Preservation Award presentation for the Justice Building.
So in May, actually, the Landmarks Commission voted to award the Ben Maxwell Award to the Justice Building renovation for the excellent work that was done in terms of not just doing the required minimum, but you guys also got approval to replace some character defining features, but because of your innovation, you were able to restore them instead of replace them. So the Landmarks Commission wanted to recognize all of your excellent work. And I believe that Andy now can give you an award if you want to take a picture of stuff. Okay, and so it's for DAS, the state of Oregon, and Sarah Architects as well. And if you could, and Penn's Construction, sorry.
Hold the award. Thank you. Congratulations. Now we'll go to the approval of minutes. May I please have a motion to approve the minutes?
I move approval of the minutes for August 17th, 2023.
Thank you, Commissioner Inman. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, who said second? Oh, Commissioner Timber. Thank you. All right, Commissioner Inman approves or moves to approve the minutes, and Commissioner Timber seconds. Are there any corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from the August meeting, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, the minutes are approved. Thank you. All right, now we will move to the public hearing on the agenda. I will now open the public hearing for historic review case number 23-19 for 567 High Street Southeast 97301. Would the recorder please read the hearing procedure statement in the record?
I will do so, but just for the record, Commissioner Strong arrived at 5:36 as now in the record. And this is a public hearing to consider case number HIS 23-19 for property located at 567 High Street Southeast. The criteria applicable to this hearing are listed in Salem Revised Code, chapter 230.065, general guidelines for historic contributing structure. Failure to raise an issue prior to the close of the public hearing with statements or evidence sufficient to inform the Historic Landmarks Commission and the parties in the opportunity to respond to the issue with the field of the hearing officer on that issue. The similar failure to raise constitutional issues relating to proposed conditions of approval precludes an action for damages in circuit court. Prior to the conclusion of the hearing, any participant may request an opportunity to present additional evidence or testimony. The Historic Landmarks Commission will then either continue the public hearing or leave the record open for at least 7 days.
Thank you. Are there any conflicts of interest or ex parte contacts that any commissioner would like to declare at this time? All right, hearing none, maybe now have the staff presentation, please.
Good evening, I'm Kimberly Fitzgerald, Historic Preservation Officer for the City of Salem. I'd like to enter the staff report, its attachments, and all public testimony into the record. So this case you're hearing tonight is regarding 567 High Street Southeast, and this is a property that's located on the corner of High and Oak Streets, and it is a contributing resource to our Gaiety Hill Bushes Pasture Park Historic District. Something I want to point out, because this will come up later and I'll talk a little bit more about it, is that the properties that you can see on your screen abutting High Street, a large portion of what appears to be on their private tax lot is actually in the right of way. So not just 567 High, but 606 High. So it's challenging, but the Public Works Department and also planning are currently reviewing this project. And so the issue of the right of way, I'll speak to that later, is not something within your regulatory purview, but you have received testimony about that, just so you're aware. I can answer any questions as we move through that, but I just wanted to point that out. So here's a few pictures. Hopefully you're familiar with it. This is a lovely Spanish colonial. And you can see the view from High Street. There's an existing stepped wall there now, and then the view from Oak Street. And to give you a sense of what is in the right of way, that fountain you're seeing, as well as the historic wall, is actually in. So these are things we want to preserve, but so there's a way to work through that. We'll talk about. Here's another view. So these, this shows there's an existing taller masonry wall, but it's brick painted white. And this is at the alley looking east, and that encloses is a walled garden that was designed by Morgan Scriber. And then this is kind of down the hill on High Street looking up, so you can kind of get a sense of the change in the slope there. And these are a few other nearby properties, so, 490 Oak Street, that's the property owned by the Cones to, the south. So they actually have a fence, it's very different style, but it's also in right away. And then 606 High Street, which has a similarly designed, wrought iron fence, and it's on top of a retaining. So this is a historic photo. Well, you don't know, it's in the Salem Library collection and has a date of 1950 to 1970. So this is another one of our jobs. We're trying to narrow down more succinctly dates like this. So a bit about the history. So the Jarman House was constructed in 1929 by Beverly Hills architect G.C. McAllister and in the Spanish colonial style. Mr. Jarman was actually a branch manager of the J.C. Penney store in Salem, and he lived in the house with his family until 1938. As I mentioned before, a portion of the landscape was designed by Elizabeth Ward and Edith Scriber, and it with a special that intact gardens on that west side elevation too. The perimeter of the property, as you saw in the pictures, is lined by a low stepped brick wall with domed posts. And these are all painted white to reflect the stucco appearance of the main house. The actual driveway, the driveway entrance is located along the south entry between the wall there along Oak Street, and it's marked by taller posts, which have iron lanterns on it. And this resource was actually individually listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1979 and is also contributing to the district. So it's got both of those designations. A little bit more about the background. So the applicant originally submitted for a Class 2 minor historic design review, case number HIS 23-11. Requesting approval for a 4-foot fence along the front yard, so fronting High Street and a portion of Oak Street. And then requesting approval for a 6-foot fence for what's considered to be the backyard. But because of the challenges that he's had, especially recently with security and safety for his family, he withdrew that application prior to a decision being issued. And to be clear that those heights are the standards that are allowed under our code. So SRC 230 allows a height of 4 feet in the front yard and 6 feet in the back. And so he's here tonight requesting essentially, so it's not a variance in our world, but the Landmarks Commission has more discretion. So review under the guidelines to have that 6 foot in the front. And I'll speak to this a little bit more in a minute too when talking about other departments, but concurrently, he also submitted an application with the planning division for an adjustment to their standards. So now, okay, the proposal itself. So this is a site plan showing the perimeter of the property. And you can see the house here. This is High Street and this is Oak Street. No, that's wrong. That's High Street and this is Oak Street. So we're looking east. So we're standing on the alley right there. And the driveway entry is here. The gates right there. And again, the 6-foot fence would run the perimeter, fronting high and that's the so this shows forgive me, I want to let's just look at this one. So this shows. So this shows if you can see it, and I don't know if it would help to turn the lights down, Lisa, to get a better, so there's no glare. Then you can kind of see, the wall and the fence abutting it, so it's going to be placed behind that wall. Again, and it's a steel fence with pickets, so it's designed to give the appearance of a wrought iron fence. And this is at the corner of Ogun High. So this shows the actual design of the picket fence and the drawings. So I'm going to go through the applicable criteria. And then I'll talk in more detail also about the other departments' review as well. So the applicant is proposing to continue to use the resource as a residence, its historic purpose. And while the applicant is proposing to install a new metal picket fence abutting the perimeter of both Oak Street and High Street, the fencing will be placed on the interior of the existing perimeter wall and will not be physically connected to any historic character defining features. Staff recommends the Landmarks Commission find that the proposed use will not change and that no historic resources on the site will be adversely affected. Regarding guidelines B, C, D, and E, the applicant is not proposing to restore or repair any original historic materials as part of this proposal. And they're not proposing to alter anything that has acquired significance. So these guidelines are not up to the evaluation of this proposal. So regarding F and G, again, in order to increase the security on this property, the applicant is proposing to construct a 6-foot metal fence with the appearance of a wrought iron fence on the perimeter of this property on the interior of the wall abutting the sidewalk. The fencing will be located in the front yard abutting High Street and the side yard south of the resource fronting Oak Street. The fencing will not be attached to any historic features on the site and nor to any other character defining features on the site. But while the fencing will impose a new feature in the front yard that was not historically part of the site, the primary house can be seen through the fence, minimizing the impact of this new addition. The proposed fencing will not result in any loss of historic materials and no significant features will be damaged or destroyed by the proposal. While the fencing may obscure a minimal amount of the view of the primary facade of the house on the site, the nature of the building slope and the visibility through the fence will ensure that overall no significant features will be obscured. Therefore, staff recommends the Landmarks Commission find that SRC 230065F and G has been met for the proposal. The applicant is not proposing to correct any structural deficiencies. There is a minimal amount of ground disturbance necessary to install the posts. While it's not a requirement under this section of the code, an inadvertent discovery plan will be required at the time the permit is pulled. And let's see. I think that's everything. So overall, staff recommends the Landmarks Commission find that SRC 230065 has been met for the proposal. Now I'm going into the comments. So we've not received any general public comments. We have received multiple comments from John Christensen and the representative of the Scan Neighborhood Association. You should have the most recent one on your desk, and I think Zach emailed it earlier today as well, so. The first two comments were submitted to the city on October 10th and on October 11th, and were included in your staff report along with staff responses. So their concerns were regarding the discrepancy in the description of the materials, which was corrected in your staff report. So clarifying that it's metal made to look like wrought iron instead of wrought iron. And he also had concerns regarding the fact that there's no historic evidence supporting a fence like this in this location. However, this is not a proposal that is restoration or reconstruction based on historic evidence. It's new construction, so that doesn't apply in the evaluation of this case. And then he also had concerns about the appropriateness to review Landmarks Commission. And in particular, he had in both his testimony on the 11th and today on the 19th, he's recommended that the Landmarks Commission add a condition restricting the height of the fence in the front yard along high to 4 feet instead of 6. And as I mentioned before, this is the actual standard. So if the applicant had kept his request to 4 feet, that could have been approved under the administrative review. And he's here tonight essentially requesting an exception to that standard based on a need that's been identified. And so the Landmarks Commission really only has a purview to say yes or no to that exception, as opposed to adding a condition. And we can go through that if you have more questions, but it's similar to the process that the applicant is going through with the planning division in asking for an adjustment to the standard. So the planning underlying zoning also has the same requirement for that, for he's requesting an adjustment to that standard, which is 6. So moving on to other city department comments now. John Scan submitted some concerns about work in the right of way, which I mentioned briefly, as well as coordination of land reviews. So the planning division indicated that the 6-foot fence is not allowed in the front yard unless a class 2 adjustment to these standards is obtained. And the applicant has applied for a class 2 adjustment under case 23-119. A decision has not been issued yet, but it's out for comment right now. And the applicant must obtain this adjustment for the fence at the requested height of 6 feet is not allowed. So staff is recommending the Landmarks Commission adopt a condition of approval to ensure compliance with this standard prior to construction. And our code SRC 230, which I'm explaining in the staff report as well, requires that other land use applications be processed concurrently or prior to. So this one is being processed concurrently. And then moving on to Public Works. So Public Works has stated that the proposed fencing meets their criteria as not site obscuring. However, a portion of the existing historic wall, as I mentioned, as well as a portion of the proposed fence are within the right of way, as well as within what they call the vision clearance area, which is at the corner there of Oak and High. So they have their own process, which requires that the applicant get a revocable license to encroach into the right of way, which essentially means that it's the applicant's own risk to build this, and at any time the city could revoke that if it's a determined safety need. So the second condition is related to ensuring that the applicant obtains that revocable license prior to construction, as well as clearing the vegetation, so there's not an issue with vision. So that's the extent of the testimony. The Building and Safety Division and the Fire Department didn't have any concerns, and there's been no other public agency comments. So in sum, staff recommends the Landmarks Commission approve the proposal with the following conditions, and I'm going to go ahead and read them. Bear with me. Condition 1, the applicant shall obtain a class 2 adjustment authorizing an adjustment to the land use requirements within the underlying zone, which limit the height of the residential fencing to 4 feet in the front yard prior to installing the 6-foot high fencing in the front yard. Condition 2, the applicant shall obtain a revocable license to encroach into the right of way prior to construction. And once the fence is constructed, the applicant shall ensure that the vegetation remains clear within the 10-foot by 50-foot vision clearance area at the northwest corner of High Street Southeast and Grove Street Southeast. So that concludes the staff.
Thank you, Kimberly. Do any of the commissioners have questions for staff tonight? Commissioner Kerwin.
And thank you. Kimberly, do you know that if this property is sold, is that revocable license to encroach into the right of way, is that transferable, or is it something that has to be a disclaimer in the sale of the property?
I don't know. I'm going to see if Lisa knows.
Yeah, I think it runs with the property. So as long as the, whatever they're encroaching doesn't change, then it will continue to transfer.
Commissioner Strauss.
Is there a fence on the other 2 sides of the property?
No, and the proposal does not include a request for those other 2 signs, but the applicant can clarify.
Thank you.
Commissioner Eden.
My question is, are there other examples of a 6-foot fence in the front yard of any of the other National Register properties in the area, or?
So directly across the street in the picture that I showed you, with the fencing on top of the retaining wall that actually significantly increases. It's more than 6 feet. I don't know what it is, but it's a, yeah. So the whole thing isn't 6 feet, but it's pretty high.
Okay, so that has like at least a 4-foot high wrought iron or
Yes.
metal part with on top of
On top of at least a 2-foot high retaining wall. Yes,
So that's a 6-foot, basically a 6-foot.
essentially.
And is that one also in the right of way?
Yes.
Is that an encroaching? Yeah, it's also.
Yeah, all the fencing in there is, but it's all been there a while. so.
Yeah, exactly. It's qualified historical retaining walls. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Commissioner Kerwin.
Another question about the revocable license. So it states that essentially if the city could come in and request that the encroachment be removed. I don't want to assume, so I'm just going to ask, because I don't know this process, but is it that property owner absorbs all of the expenses of removing that encroachment?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Commissioner Fuller.
As part of the revocable license, we say that the applicant shall ensure that all vegetation remains clear within a certain vision clearance area. How is that enforced?
It's not the historic division's responsibility to enforce that. That's a part of public works. I don't know if Lisa has anything to add on that, but this vision clearance thing is something that's common throughout the city to ensure safety.
Yeah, usually it's complaint driven, or if staff actually notice, in an intersection when it's not being kept clear. But there's somebody that's his whole job in public works is dedicated to vision clearance. Yeah. And he's a great guy. So if you're ever in an intersection and you're like, boy, I can't see because somebody's bush or sign or they did something that doesn't like it should be there, you call public works and they'll get on it.
Okay.
Yeah. Except for downtown. We don't have those standards downtown because the buildings can be built right up to the corners and that's what we want our downtown. So yeah.
Commissioner Stout?
Clarifying question. So in order for the 6-foot fence to be approved, it needs to be approved both by us and by the planning commission.
That's correct.
Thank you.
All right, are there any additional questions for staff? All right. I will now call for the applicant's testimony.
Skowski, 567 High Street, Southeast St. Morgan, next to 302 First. Thank you, everybody, for being here, part of this, and particularly thank you, Kimberly, for all of the you put into this, and Zach for welcoming me here today. I wanted to congratulate Roland on his award. I've known him for 40 years. We've had he's been responsible for the tremendous amount of construction around the state of Oregon. And I don't want to keep you here all night, so if you have something you can do right now, I suggest you do it quick and get on your feet. Thanks, great work. Take care. I think I have questions that have been thrown out here that I can answer to a number of these things. But I just want to clarify, why I'm here, because I'll tell you, if I would have known about this process before I started it, I wouldn't have started really. When my wife and I first went and looked at this house in 2013, it had been vacant for several years. The Pioneer Trust Bank was holding it for the Bednarz family to help them pay for some taxes. We were very fortunate, maybe a little bit foolish, and we'll all offer and have it accepted. And part of accepting that deal, the purchase of the home, was to agree to be a steward to that house, which has entailed the rebuilding of several fireplaces, a tremendous amount of work on the roof and on the infrastructure. We put a lot of time and effort into that house, and we want to stay there. My boys would be here right now, but they just ran in the district cross country finals. So I couldn't see them, and they couldn't be here to support me. But so there's two parts of this. One part is the protection of the house itself. Okay, so when someone who is in some type of psychosis attempts to kick the front door in, or gain entry via or north by busting the lock, or smashing through the French doors off our library, and I have to hold them until the police get there at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm dealing with an issue of safety for my family, but also trying to take care of the house and not let it be destroyed by people who are very sick and on our streets right now. The city's been very helpful in helping us clear out the camps underneath the High Street Bridge, but we continue to have difficulty with people, and I have a long list. I should have just brought all the police reports. Okay, people trespassing, people vandalizing my property, stealing my children's bicycles. The list is pretty long. All the different things we've had to deal with here. But frankly, when you're in the middle of the night and you're holding a guy on the ground because he says that God gave him that house, and his future wife is waiting inside for him, and he needs to get in there. I would like some type of effective barrier so they just can't come on the property to begin with, so I don't have to deal with situations like that. And this is, believe me, I don't want to spend this type of money. I don't think aesthetically it's something that I was really looking forward to adding to my property in the beginning. But I'm looking for a way to keep my family in this home safe. And this is the first line of defense that I think will be effective in this. And because it's a historic home, we picked the most expensive, historically correct fence that we could find. I would love to answer questions, some of the questions that were thrown out here. The fence across the street on High Street is 6 feet, in places over 6 feet on its own. Okay, the Cones have a 6-foot fence back behind their house along High Street also. All of these structures are within the right of way. But believe me, if the city wants to change and widen High Street and move back historic homes and features, matter of fact, the homes, the Cones homes, actually other people's homes are actually in that right of way. Okay, so we're not just talking about a fence that would be back. And by the way, that wall on High Street, that was like $30-some thousand to replace part of that wall that was caving into High Street. I mean, there's been a tremendous amount of money and effort to try to maintain this home in its historic original condition. And so this fence is part of that continued effort. So and as far as the testimony from John Christensen, is John Christensen here tonight? Okay, I assume he lives at 547 King Arthur Court. I'd like to understand the metal and wood structures in his yard adjacent to the sidewalk and where he got his permits and how that affects the right of way and the laws in this city about these type of structures. I mean, I'm here to answer questions. I think I have a lot of those answers. I appreciate your time. I didn't intend to make a speech. I just wanted to say that there's a reason why we want this. And I think we're going through a process that's not easy and not inexpensive. And I appreciate your help in the process. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Strauss?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. First off, my question before was about the fence on the other two sides of the property. Is there a fence on the other two sides?
Commissioner, there's a proposed fence. This fence is proposed to go around the property, keep people from entering the property on all sides that are currently accessible. There's also a 10-foot tall brick and covered stucco fence around most of the Little Strider garden in the back and along the alley. But my intent is to try to enclose the property in a secure manner.
Commissioner Strauss?
Yeah, just a follow-up. So, sorry, just to clarify, it's already fenced in the back and along the alley, or it will be fenced?
Sorry about that. Along the alleyway, there's an existing 10-foot wall.
Okay,
And as much as I'd like to fence that back area, it's really not possible because of the alleyway with the neighbors. So there is a proposed 6-foot fence, which is not outside the variance along the north boundary of the property. So and so that is not that is there's no fence currently there. And so this is the north boundary, and the fence will be put here with a gate here. And then fencing continues along the east and the south. And then there's existing 10-foot walls here. Hope that answers.
Are there any other questions first? Give everybody else a turn. Okay, Commissioner Strauss.
yeah, just one follow-up. So, if you do decide to do a fence on the back, that would be part of a different proposal. I guess the north line.
If you look carefully at the map, you'll see there is a fence along a specific foot section running from High Street along the north boundary of my yard, with the CPA's next door. Going up, I think, a total of 170 feet to where a secondary gate would be. So there.
I think Kimberly, if you pull it up on the projector and then you can show the entire condition.
And I'm sorry this isn't clear.
No problem. I just want to make sure I'm understanding. I appreciate the effort.
What was do you want to use the pointer to point to where you're describing? So
So here's my neighbors to the north. The voice of the CPA's business. The fence would start here along the alleyway near Oak Street. The fence starts here along the alleyway, comes out from the 10-foot wall, goes along Oak Street to a gate here to the driveway, then to High Street, then along the High Street border, all the way to the northeast corner of my property, then up that property line to approximately here, where a gate will be put in. So we currently have gates here along this wall. This gate will be added and this perimeter fence will enclose the yard and secure the house.
Okay, I understand, thank you.
All right, Commissioner Cons.
So those raised pickets along the wall are inset from the wall itself. And those are set in concrete down deep. And so we're going to inset it enough so that it doesn't disturb it in the existing footings of those. So from the exterior of the white wall, we're probably talking 18 to 24 inches into the property. And that goes back to the reasoning of the taller fence, because we've had people walking through the front of the property from either way or walking across the property. We had one guy who was trying to get in, and then with Randy fell over that High Street wall. And that is a dangerous part of the yard because there's such a drop off there. There's no fence there right now.
Commissioner Kerman.
Yeah, can you speak to a little bit why you went from a 4-foot to a 6-foot and the benefit or what motivated you to change your proposal?
Originally, so the story's been misunderstood a little bit. Originally, 2 years ago, I bought the complete fence, 6 foot in height, and commissioned to have it installed. Luckily, my wife is a lot smarter than me, said, "Why don't you check to see if you can do that, because this is a historic community and whatnot." So at that point, I owned all of the fencing in 6 foot. But when I started going through this process a year and a half ago, and Kimberly, started educating, believe me, I needed it. We came to the conclusion that the rule said that you could have a 6 foot fence in the back and in the sides. And there would be a 4-foot fence along the front. I thought, okay, this wall along the front of High Street is fairly tall in some places. And so we may not need a 6 foot, except on the corners. People could climb up and then climb over there. But I'd already purchased the fencing, but I thought, okay, I don't want to fight, these rules or end up in a council meeting. I mean, I hate public speaking. And so Kimberly said, well, this is the way it could go through without, any rule bending or changing. And so I went to my fence company and I said, we've exchanged the 6 foot 4 and put in for a 6 foot along Oak Street, which is where you really need it, okay? Because it's at street level there. And then we'll do a 4 foot in the front. And we had that accepted, it was going through. Then somebody at the city noticed on the ordinance side, then in their opinion, from the front of the house, you have to draw a line and go out to Oak Street. And so those 40 feet along Oak Street, he said, can't be 6 foot, it has to be 4 foot. You have to make an application, okay? So I went in and met with it. How much is the application? Anybody know how much that application is? $1,925 for that 40-foot section, okay? So I thought, I already own the fence, I'm already paying the fee, might as well do what I wanted to do anyway, which would be an effective fence of 6 foot, and ask for all of it. Hope that. It's understood.
Yes, thank you for the clarification.
Are there any other questions for the applicants? All right, thank you.
Thank you for not having more questions.
All right, is there anyone here from the neighborhood association? Nice, seeing that, I will now call for other testimony. Is there anybody else here that is interested in providing testimony this evening? All righty.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, because the, screen twisted the images, I have high quality, print versions and maybe respond to Commissioner Ponce's question. I don't know if this is for sure to pass around. And it might help address some of your questions regarding the appearance and location.
There's any additional questions for staff? As the photo of the fencing goes around. I'll wait until everybody gets a look at it before moving on to the next step in our hearing. Commissioner Kerwin.
Can I request that staff go back to the slide that has the conditions on it?
We should have had an opportunity to look at it, get a better view of what the fence is gonna look like. Are there any additional questions for staff after the photo pass around? All right, hearing none, I will now close the public hearing. No additional testimony will be accepted at this time without formally reopening the hearing. I will now call for a motion. Commissioner Timbrook.
I move to approve, with, a condition 1 to obtain a class 2 adjustment, and also condition 2 to, obtain a revocable license to encroach into the right of way.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Timbrook. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Timbrook. Commissioner Timbrook, to your motion.
It seems to me, and especially in this instance, there's a safety factor. And I think that the applicant has gone through, all the appropriate steps, working with Kimberly, to, make sure that he's doing this the right way. So that way, because he does need to keep his family safe, so.
Thank you, Commissioner Inman, did you want to add?
Yes, I was concerned initially because of the encroachment aspect and the height and precedent that a 6-foot fence in this location might set. But I'm satisfied that the encroachment situation is pretty unique to this zone, and that it exists on other adjacent and nearby parcels. And as to the height of this fence, I'm satisfied that there are also precedents in the neighborhood and right across the street of equal or higher fences. I'm also convinced that the reversible aspect of this fencing is important. It can be removed. The fencing does not affect the historic resource, doesn't touch or bear on or undermine anything existing. In the future, the fence could actually be reduced in height, and with utilizing the infrastructure that's being built to put this fence in. And I also believe that the class 2 adjustment process to give this exemption is a deterrent to fences of this sort sprouting in all of our residential historic districts. So I'm satisfied that staff has analyzed it, and I'm sorry that our applicant has had to learn this labyrinthine process, but I think that this will be a good result for his family, and therefore I support this project.
Thank you. Are there any comments regarding the motion? Commissioner Kruger?
I don't think there's any question on the safety factor, but I also just want to note that this is not a city of Salem problem. This is happening all over in our larger cities to our historic resources getting vandalized, and unfortunately / kind of fortunately, it's up to some of our public partners and public and private landowners to take the initiation to protect some of these resources. If this fence was to be reinforced to be on the property and not an encroachment, I think it would be more impacting towards the visual of the historic resource. And so even though it's on the City of Salem's property, I don't see the City of Salem doing this kind of thing to protect the historic resource due to just funding and all sorts of limitations. And I just have to really give kudos towards the property owner to take this initiation, go through this process, and do what it takes to protect our resources, our historic and heritage resources that places like our city and larger agencies just do not have the resources to do. And these processes that are in place, the adjustments, the encroaching licenses, they're here for this exact reason. They're a process that can be utilized so that we can do things like this. So kudos and thank you.
Commissioner Strauss?
Yeah, in terms of the criteria, I think that my biggest concern was whether this sort of alteration would obscure one of the significant features, which would be the house itself. And I think especially with those photos, so thank you for passing them around. You can see that because the house is kind of on a hill, we've got kind of a unique situation where that fence is really not going to do a lot of obscuring to the significant features of that house. So I think they meet the criteria.
Are there any other questions from the commissioners? Yeah, I would agree with what folks have already mentioned earlier. I think it's kind of sad reality that in a lot of cases, with crime and homeless and things like that, where you're prompted to make these kind of changes where maybe in another time it wouldn't be so necessary, but the fact that the fence doesn't obscure the house, if you're driving by or walking by, you can still see it, all the historical elements of the home, it's not being blocked by any of those things. I completely understand the necessity for it, and I can completely understand the support that the commission feels about it too, because you can still see the house. It's a necessity, and I support the motion as well. All right. I will now call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion to approve the application with both conditions as stated in the report from the staff, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, thank you. It passes with unanimous support. Vote passed. We don't have any action items tonight. We moved up one of our discussion items, so let's move on to our action plan updates this evening. And we can just kind of go around the room and kind of get updates from folks and see how things are going. Let's start, Commissioner Strong. Do you have any updates to give us this evening?
Why don't you come back to me?
Okay. All right, Commissioner Stroud.
Yeah, I've got a couple of items to discuss. One is the Criterion School. I was able to make it out and get a copy of most of the historic records they had on site there. So that will be very helpful in doing the draft nomination. So that's moving ahead. Commissioner Inman and I have also worked on maybe attending the in-person visit. So I'd love to come to it if we can arrange the scheduling. I also attended a meeting regarding the potential archaeological district for the Jason Lee and associated sites in Salem. We had just sort of our first initial meeting to chat about it. And I think we had a great discussion. There's some interesting questions kind of talking about like what do we include and what do we not include. So I think it's going to be a really cool project to be a part of it. So those might be some updates.
Thank you, Commissioner Strauss. Commissioner Fulmer.
I do not have action item updates to share.
Okay. Commissioner Tidbrook.
I do that as well, but a hopeful optimism for recording audio. Became museum history thing. So it's time for the winter weather.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Commissioner Tidbrook and I have discussed some options and some things that we can do to assist Kimberly to not have some of those each month. And for me, I've been working at just updating things on our Facebook and Instagram accounts, as well as providing some audio for the KMUZ Salem History Moments. Yeah, I'll still continue to do that. Right now, I'm providing one of those each month, so I've got plenty of material to continue to do that, and Commissioner Timber also has some access to that material, so we should be able to help provide more. And Commissioner Gerber?
Not really much to report. This month is, archaeology month for Oregon. This tends to happen every year, so, just as a quick recap, previously, the archaeology month was kind of housed within the State Historic Preservation Office's venue. However, during COVID, there was a huge change up, and they still do not have the capacity to take that on. And so myself with Kimberly, we've been trying to keep that going as best as we can until hopefully the committee can be reformed and bring that back to its former glory. However, we always think of this in the beginning of the year, and then October happens. And so I think Kimberly and I have a good idea on the sense of that. October is going to be thinking of the archaeology month for next year, rather than thinking of the archaeology month for this year. Especially since the governor's office, the previous governor, and it has carried over, changed their review process on applying for, I forget the term.
Proclamation.
Thank you, proclamations, that it needs to be at least 30 days prior to the month that you're requesting. So previously, the Chippewa office, myself included, we would submit it maybe like October 3rd and get that turned around to still be able to recognize October. However, now they will reject it and say you need to give us more than 30 days, which fair. So yeah, so this October is going to be all about submitting and organizing for next October.
Thank you, Commissioner Kerderman. Commissioner Potts?
So minor update, we tried to organize a tour facility that renovates windows, and we weren't able to put that together, but I hope to still do that, and forward to getting the first group taking camping and everything.
I'm definitely interested in going to that, so I'm hoping we can do it.
We'll do it.
Thank you, Commissioner Potts. Commissioner Inman?
In the next, I guess it will be a couple of weeks, we will be doing a site visit at the Criterion School and taking some better photographs and complete description with information.
Thank you. All right. Oh, Commissioner Strong, that's right. You're coming back again.
I'm prepared now, yes. Okay, so my assignment was to look at the options for homeowner forums, what some of the requirements might be to set that up and what the interest areas might be. And most of these suggestions come from either Kimberly or Julie. And there's sort of two parts. One is to assess our communication, public access to the existing communication, and maybe come up with a better way to connect the existing information with new homeowners. Kimberly came up with the idea of a sort of informational welcome basket for new historic homeowners with all the things that we wish we would have known before we bought our historic homes. To give people a starting point and a set of resources that they can turn to initially, so that they don't stumble upon these multi-$1,000, multi-month projects like the Valiant family that was just here. And some of the areas that people have raised as interest areas are seismic safety, fire safety, new homeowner panic about cost and how to avoid, some of the avoidable costs. Criteria for historic preservation, who to ask and who it is safe to ask, because often people are afraid to ask, it turns out, and how to prioritize the the obstacles and the tasks when you are facing, the decision to purchase and start as well.
Great, thank you, Commissioner Kirkman.
Can I add something that's just kind of fresh in my brain is maybe pest control and the challenges of having a historic home and doing pest control of all sizes.
You mean squirrels?
Yeah, rats, squirrels, monster spiders.
Yes.
Deer, is that deer? All right, deer. Nutrients, turkeys, skunks, turkeys. The turkey the other day in my yard.
Okay, thank you. That is. That's a very valid.
Do I do loose? Loose.
Peacocks. Peacocks.
Thank you, everybody. And now we'll move on to our next item of business, the newsletter. Zach, what you got for us?
So our fall newsletter is a little bit late. We should be getting it out this next week. I think I'm still missing an article from a commission, and I will reach out to you about that. But that should be good to go soon. And one of the fortuitous things about it being late is that we will now be able to include the photo, our final photo of our award, because this one features all of our awards. So I was just going to give one photo, so we'll be able to get that in. And then we're going to start thinking about our winter newsletter, which will go out at the end of December, beginning of January. We have not pre-selected a theme for that, so we are open to everything. I'm hearing there's a lot of interest about pests. So, it's completely open. To whatever people would like to write about. I don't think that we've done any sort of holiday edition before. If there's any fun historical holiday things that have happened that people might want to write about for winter holidays. That's just a suggestion I thought of right now.
Maybe like the parade, the holiday parade that used to happen, could be an interesting article. Things like the 50s downtown.
I think they've had a few iterations of it too, because they had one that started in the 90s and then moved to Kaiser. And then, yeah, they had like the 50s. I've seen some photos of like some of the like inflatables and stuff down toward the Meyer and Frank building. Things like that.
Sounds like you know a lot about this.
I know they happen. Commissioner.
Would it be possible to upload several of the latest newsletters to the webpage?
Yes, we were not able to do that with our old webpage, and we transitioned to things like it's been on my to-do list the whole time, but just haven't gotten to the top of it.
Maybe just the last one. It's just so we start a process of uploading those.
Yes, we can do that.
Is there a way we could add it to and then a link to the newsletter, something like that in social media or something?
I think we've done that before with the I guess the delivery system or whatever we have. Like there was a way that you could like tap it as a web page or something like that. I know we've done stuff before where we've linked to it. But yeah, I think it's probably easier for folks to find if we had it just like on the web page HLC, as people are just searching for information about the commission or meetings or that kind of stuff.
So I do have the option to export it as a link so that anyone, it would be a permanent link that we could share on social media. I am not sure of the structure of signing people up, like if people want to sign up to get it in their email, because it is a shared city service for all of our newsletters. And I don't know how to set it up for specifically the historic landmarks newsletter. I'm sure that there is a way, but I'd have to look into that for if we wanted people to be able to sign up besides them just saying they want to be on it and I had it. So I'll look into that for people to sign up, but we can definitely create permanent links, which is how we would also get it on our new website. So we can make that. Did anyone else have ideas for the newsletter or things to write? No, that's something I'm interested in.
I mean, I don't have an idea yet, but I'm gonna write you an article. I'll tell you what it is by November.
Great, okay. If anyone thinks of any themes or if you just want to run the holiday thing, that's fine too. We'll finalize whatever that is in November.
Perhaps let it snow. And, you know, for some of the photographs we had that have been submitted in previous, competitions. I wish it would just let it October.
No, that's all I have unless any commissioners have any questions for you.
Thank you, Zach. All right, we will now go to the Historic Preservation Officer's report.
So I have a few updates and then a question. So since we last met, Jessica and I were both at the Grand Run History and Culture Summit. Is that the title? Yeah, it was great. I encourage you to go when they have it again. Or we might do a field trip out to the museum. But I was on a panel and spoke about Salem's program along with Metro and Christine from the Grand Run and sure. Oh yeah. Cheryl Polly and the gentleman from I don't know, they talked about a challenging situation during the fires. Anyway, so the announcement is you should have gotten, I hope, an invite from Zach on November 2nd. It's online, virtual through Zoom, CLG workshop. So I'm going to be talking again about Salem's program along with Patrick from the Legislative Commission on Indian Services. Patrick Flanagan. They're just talking in general about how other local jurisdictions can do what we do already. So yeah, but there are going to be other topics that are of interest. So I don't know, have you gone before, Jen? You went to our
think I did.
Oregon City?
Yes.
Yes, you did. That was
It was like a commissioner workshop.
Oh, that was in June. That was the NAPC National Lines.
Yeah, no, I think I went to one like years ago.
Yeah.
Down in Eugene.
Yeah, they're more fun in person, but you know, if this I think will be the last one on Zoom, but I
I think
encourage
she
you
was
to.
still an intern.
Yeah.
Like, that's how long ago it was.
Kimberly, I'm registered to go to that.
Okay.
Yeah. So there will be some archaeology.
We get a little bonus points from our commissioners. I don't know what that's like. We get fabulous prizes.
It is free to register and it's on Zoom.
So yeah, I encourage you.
Okay, time, give it time, by Jen.
The time
It's like
12 to
noon
6
to 5.
12 to 6:30.
12 to 6:30, maybe, I don't know, 6:30?
Yeah, it seems long.
Or maybe the I don't know.
Okay, that's
We
great.
have the agenda.
It's on my calendar.
Yeah.
Because you can look at my work.
I have the email of it is due to 6:30.
The other news, if it's okay, I'm gonna share about Commissioner Barnes, who's decided not to re-up again. So he's gonna be with us through November and December, yay. But we're gonna have a vacant position, and this is also a reminder, I'm trying to get Jessica and Brett. You should have also gotten, the same question that Steve did, whether you want to read up again. If you do, please do so like right. Or let us know.
It'd be sad to see you go.
Yeah.
It's been nice to have your expertise on the.
I told him already he has to find his.
I'm sad that you're gonna break up the twins road.
Yeah.
We do have, this side of the dais has all twin twins.
Are you serious?
Serious.
I did not know.
Yep.
Bill are turns twins, and then you have twins. That's cool. So the question is, Christmas party. So, last year we went to Deepwood. We did it the year before too.
I don't think we did it last year.
Oh, we did do it. We failed.
Yeah, because we had the weather.
I still got what else and did it out last year when we did it. And then, how long ago was it when we did the joint one? And we said pre-COVID, I know, when we did it at Pringle. I prefer to. So, so the question is, A, do you want to have a party? And B, where do you want to have it? And do you want to invite planning?
I was gonna say, I know the last one we had was at the Reed Opera House.
Oh, that was right. That was right.
I remember because I had Marcus and I was pregnant with twins. And I was on the stairs.
That was a lot of staring. That was a really big space. You did a lot of things. I forgot. That was a joint. Yes.
I remember we had one, must have been during the pandemic at Deepwood. That was.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was nice because, you know, it's a smaller venue and it was just the
It
condition.
must have been 2021, right?
I think that might be right. And that was fun to kind of just
Yeah,
be in the house, well,
and it's all.
you know, it's just kind of quiet, having a little meal there. I thought that was kind of a fun environment.
I vote. What's your guys' part?
Deepwood.
Yeah, Deepwood and also y'all are
Yeah.
part of this too.
The more the merrier.
Yeah, exactly.
So we saw that we want to figure out a day. Did Yvonne say John? Zach. Who's Jack?
I don't know, because she reached out to you, and that's all I know that she said. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, she did, sorry. Yeah, she didn't, she said to let her know, and during the week is better for them and earlier in December is better. So, I don't know if we want to do a deal, whatever you guys do, so I'll let you. You can throw out. And I think when we last did it, it was like a Wednesday, or it wasn't a commission night, and Tuesday's terrible because that's planning commission. So maybe a Wednesday.
Wednesday, December 6th.
Okay.
Any objections?
Done. We'll see if that works. And then I think in years past, we've done it's like a potluck, so you know, you sign up for a dish, and then we always have like a themed gift exchange, and it's usually like a white elephant. So in years past, what have we done? We said like socks. I think, did we do socks?
We did socks, but that was the first year we did it with planning commission at Pringle.
Mittens.
Yeah. Cause I remember getting some socks that had lots of tassels.
Yeah, so think about what you.
What do you think about these centerpieces?
Ugly centerpieces, that's right. Yes, I'm looking at you, I feel like you brought something fun. No? Yeah. All right, well, more to come on that. And then I just want to say thank you to Andy for doing such a great job being chair. I know that you are headed to treatment next month and really through the end of the year, so we won't see you. So we're working on some secret surprises, so be surprised.
Yeah, I'll start the transplant process November 2nd, with some outpatient stuff. They give me a few days off to kind of recover And then I'll be in the hospital 16 days of enforcement, so toward the end of November, and then after that, it's just kind of recovering. Hopefully, I'll be back on my feet sooner rather than later, and you know, back to kind of normal activity again. So November's going to be a sucky month, but then hopefully, yeah, December will be kind of better, and sure things will be kind of closer.
Oh, we wish you the best. We can't wait till you're back, and please do many radio shows.
I'll be pretty bored up there, so I'll probably be thinking of trying to find stuff to do to keep my sanity. So.
And just for business stuff, I think Jennifer, you're gonna take over as chair, but we need someone to step in. Vice chair, so I'll let y'all work. So that's really all I have, other than happy birthday. Let's see, so Andy's birthday is the 25th. Jessica's birthday was Monday. My birthday's tomorrow. I do more birthdays. Jennifer, Lucy, sorry. Wednesday. Tuesday. Right on that. See? I was looking at you while I was singing.
Mine was the 30th.
Oh, the 30th. More birthdays. Happy birthdays. Just this. I'll get a brownie if it's like.
Kimberly, are you still a Libra or are you?
I am.
I'm a Libra. Okay, I don't know when that switches. Libra, Scorpio.
Day after tomorrow.
Oh, is it? So I'm right under the wire.
Oh, wow, that's.
Yeah, so happy birthday. And Andy, I'm glad you don't have to be in hospital on your birthday.
It's one of the requests I said, I wanted to wait till
Yeah.
to kind of enjoy the rest of October, because that's my favorite month. The holidays, and then the leaves changing, all that kind of stuff, so. Yeah, so that was nice to, at least catch a break.
Good.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments for the good of the order? All right, let's wrap it up.